provided with empirical procedures, Mr. Speaker, that a member can know from the onset to know what is it that you can include and what can't you include in a bill, Mr. Speaker, to guide you as you draft legislation, so that you avoid going through a particular legislation, then eventually you are told that this bill has fallen through the cracks and the roofs of Parliament, the rigors of it, because either it is a money bill or there was no concurrence granted from the other house, Mr. Speaker. This is our opportunity to provide it in legislation, so that when a member sits to partake their constitutional mandate of oversighting, of legislating, of representation, Mr. Speaker, it is properly guided. And I say this, and I want to repeat when the members of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee are here. Because when I said it, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, it's only the chair who's there. But today I know there are many members of Justice and Legal Affairs. I know when they sat down, Mr. Speaker, they deliberated and said, we want to kill the bill at second reading. I have spoken on that particular matter many times, Mr. Speaker, and I have said it is an abuse of legislative privilege to destroy any bill at second reading, Mr. Speaker. Because there is nowhere that you are stopped, Mr. Speaker, from receiving a bill that has 5 to 10 pages and completely removing everything that is in that particular bill and coming up with your own bill anew. If we are allowed to change, Mr. Speaker, even the heading of a bill, what can you change in a bill of Parliament, Mr. Speaker? Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge our colleagues who serve in Justice and Legal Affairs Committee to use this opportunity that we have to relook into this bill, Mr. Speaker. Listen to the views that were shared by all the members, because I listened to almost 15 members speak to this particular bill in the last 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker, on their proposals, what they think needs to be made better, what they think needs to be deleted altogether, what they think, Mr. Speaker, must feature in a proper bicameral relation between two houses of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, as is the practice established elsewhere. Because this constitution of ours, Mr. Speaker, did not fall from the sky. There are other jurisdictions where bicameral relations exist. If those countries or jurisdictions, Mr. Speaker, have been able to manage this bill, this bicameral process, Mr. Speaker, to a point where the legislative agenda works, then it can surely work in Kenya. We can define it and make it even better, because you don't have to mimic or ape any institution or jurisdiction, Mr. Speaker. We can come up with our own legislation. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is my sincere hope that Justice and Legal Affairs Committee will guide us in the right direction, that they will help us, our House, Mr. Speaker, either, I don't know whether it is later this week or eventually over the recess period, because I know at the end, at the rise of the House on Thursday this week, Mr. Speaker, eventually we shall proceed on a 3-week recess period. That should be sufficient time for them, such that when we resume, Mr. Speaker, we will find and be properly guided as a House and told that this is a procedure and the move that we expect, Mr. Speaker, on this particular matter. I want to request, Mr. Speaker, finally, that if there are senators, because I don't see how you can serve in this House, Mr. Speaker, and not have a say on such an important bill. And because many, maybe for one reason or the other, may not have known the importance of this bill, Mr. Speaker, then they should take the time and the trouble to write to Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and inform their views on that particular debate, on this particular bill, how it needs to move, Mr. Speaker, so that eventually when we convene to do committee of the whole, Mr. Speaker, eventually there will be good reason and good logic, Madam Speaker, on how we view things. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, and I said this the other day when I was moving this bill, that it is not for lack of jurisdiction, that the Supreme Court has urged us more than 2 or 3 times that as a House sit down and give us a bill or a guide through which we can consider this legislation, Mr. Speaker, and has granted that opportunity, appearing as if they are not even willing to give us a decision on the matters that are before them. Then we will be passing on our own responsibility, something that we can sit down, Mr. Speaker, and agree on to be determined by other people. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, as a good student of history, this is a golden opportunity, which I don't want us to waste. I want us to use it, Mr. Speaker, for the betterment of this House, so that those that will serve in this House in the years to come will thank this, the 4th Senate, Mr. Speaker, for finally resorting or restoring the dignity of this House to where it ought to have been, to see something greater than even what our constitutional drafters saw in Naivasha, Mr. Speaker, when they drafted the Senate as it is, today, Mr. Speaker. With those very many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply and thank